We want to get straight to our top story this morning as we go to where a man is awaiting charges following frightening scenes on board a Malaysian Airlines flight, forcing it to turn back to Sydney Airport. Officers storming the plane following a 3-hour standoff after a man was heard allegedly threatening to detonate a bomb.
Live to Lucy McLeod now. This was a terrifying ordeal for everyone on board.
Absolutely terrifying. I mean, those passengers on board, a few hundred of them were stuck there as this man, this 45-year-old, left his seat, entered the aisle of this plane and stood in the middle, gripping his backpack, saying to passengers and cabin, "Are you a slave of Allah?" threatening allegedly to detonate a bomb. This man, who goes by the name of Muhammad Ali Arif, was on board that MH122 flight to Kuala Lumpur. That's when at about 3 o'clock it turned around. It landed here at 4. After reports of threats. Now, he was arrested by the AFP. You can see in this vision him in the back of a police vehicle. All of the other passengers on board were also evacuated. They were forced to leave all of their belongings on that plane as the AFP swept it to make sure that it was safe, but they were forced to stay here overnight. That man is now being questioned by police, guys, awaiting charges, but certainly very frightening for those passengers on board. They were sending videos straight to the newsroom as they were mid-air, frightened for their lives as this man was threatening them. Take a listen to what they had to say.
It's scary for a lot of people, especially when the guy started saying, "I've got a bomb, and if you love your life, don't touch me." And, you know, everyone was pretty calm, just waiting to find out when the next flight will be. I'm supposed to have a relaxing 2 weeks away from the kids in India, but that's delayed right now.
Now, it caused absolute chaos here at the airport overnight. Over 50 flights cancelled and delayed because of that ordeal. Of course, though, those passengers are expected to fly out again this afternoon. Their flight scheduled for 1 p.m. on that same flight that was turned around yesterday, guys.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, Lucy, delays, inbound flights from other states as well, cancelled flights. Could this have knock-on effects across the country?
Well, in terms of flight delays here today, there don't appear to be any cancellations, any sort of situation here this morning. It seems to be very calm. In terms of security, though, I'm sure that will be very beefed up over the next couple of weeks. This certainly is a very frightening ordeal for passengers, especially for those crew on board who had to manage this man. But they did take swift action. The airport went into emergency mode and the AFP arresting this man, now awaiting charges this morning, guys. But certainly this will have an impact for a lot of people in the coming weeks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lucy. It sounds like they had to land it and then it was blocking one of the tarmacs because that was the emergency procedure, and that was the flow-on effect because flights coming in and out obviously had to be delayed.
And also too, emergency services didn't fully understand the situation on board, so how quickly they could board that flight and how aggressively they needed to board that flight. Remarkably, and this is the age of the internet in the planes, is the fact that people were able to live stream it. They were able to contact their loved ones and basically dictate to them what was going on in the plane. So we saw it live. We saw it unfolding as it happened. And Lucy touched on it there. Even news services were receiving videos and updates along the way. And then obviously the news services scrambled, as Channel 7 did, to Sydney Airport and were there live as this plane landed and that siege took place on the tarmac. And
then you're sitting on the other end, going about your business or at a coffee shop or you're getting the kids ready, and then you're getting this from your family member saying this is what's happening on the plane. Sheer panic for so many people right around this country in the late stages of the day yesterday. We'll have more soon. Let's get more news now. Here's Eddie.
Well, thank you, Nat. The Victorian woman who cooked the beef Wellington for that ill-fated lunch that killed 3 people has spoken to tell her side of the story. Let's go to Nathan Curry in Melbourne now. Nathan, her version of events differs from what we've been told already.
Yeah, it does, Eddie. Erin Patterson's lawyers have passed on a statement to police where she's now claiming she brought those dried mushrooms from an Asian grocery store in Melbourne that she can't remember the name of. She's now also saying she had a plate of the beef Wellington herself, to the point where she got so sick as well, she had to be admitted to hospital too. She's now admitting that she initially lied to police about her food dehydrator. She initially told them she dumped it ages ago. Now she says she dumped it in the days after the meal when her ex-husband accused her of poisoning everyone. So she now regrets initially giving police a no comment, given the nightmare this has all turned into. But already we've got relatives of the victim saying they're concerned about the inconsistencies in this report she's passed on to police. Eddie?
Thank you so much, Nathan Curry there in Melbourne. There are concerns of 4 Australian tourists missing in Indonesia this morning. The group was travelling on a wooden speedboat when it hit rough weather on the way to the Banyak Islands in Aceh on Sunday night. The travellers have been named as Elliot Foote, Steph Weiss, Will Teagle and Jordan Short. Family members say they were travelling with a group of other Australians who were on a different boat. 3 Indonesian crew members were also on board the missing vessel, and a search is underway to try and locate it. A 4th indictment is looming for Donald Trump as the grand jury meets in Georgia today. A court docket posted online and then taken down shows prosecutors are set to bring charges against the former president. They include conspiracy to commit forgery over efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. Donald Trump is already defending several other cases as he campaigns for the Republican presidential nomination. The Matildas are this morning fine-tuning their preparations ahead of tomorrow's blockbuster semi-final clash with England. Let's go live to Liam Tapper, who's at the team hotel in Sydney. Liam, fans across the country finalising their plans to watch the game too.
Oh, absolutely they are, Eddie. This is the most talked about event here in Australia for some time, and there's going to be more places than ever for fans to catch a glimpse of the Matildas. There's going to be a number of live sites that are being put in place by councils and the government, and the good news is they are free. Now, there's going to be information on the government website here in New South Wales as to those localised areas that you can go and watch the game at. But as for Allianz and Combank Stadium, well, the good news, they are free, and there's no need to buy a ticket. And there's no need to register. You just have to be there, first in, first served. Of course, people are being urged to get public transport there and try to get there early so you can beat the rush that is inevitably going to happen for people to try and catch a glimpse of these Matildas. Of course, today it is another day of training. Yesterday it was a recovery session at the Swans' $70 million recovery facility. But today, Eddie, it's all back to the pitch because we're just 24 hours from the game.
It's going to be wonderful chaos when those crowds gather. That's the live sites in New South Wales. Let's go to Queensland now, where there's growing calls to open up the Gabba for tomorrow night's game. Let's go live to Georgie Chumley in Brisbane. Georgie, the government is resisting these calls so far. Why is that?
Good morning, Eddie. Well, the government's citing public transport issues, saying that there aren't enough services to and from the Gabba or Suncorp Stadium tomorrow night, and they're not planning on putting on any extras. Instead, they've expanded the live site that exists at South Bank, as well as created a new one at King George Square. They've added some others around southeast Queensland as well, like at Sandgate, Ipswich and in Surfers Paradise. But it does pale in comparison as to what we're seeing down south with stadiums being opened in Sydney and in Melbourne. But no matter where you are watching the game, people will certainly be glued to the TV with that semi-final with the Matildas. Eddie?
Sunrise is on the case this morning. Thank you so much for that, Georgie. Victoria's controversial bail laws are set to be relaxed within months, with the state government expected to introduce proposed changes from today. The reform follows a damning report over the death of an Indigenous woman in custody. It concluded the state's bail laws for low-level crimes had caused an unmitigated disaster. The opposition has voiced concerns over the implications to community safety.